And it is the biggest holiday of the year overall. Uh, it, in Israel, and it has huge significance in so many ways. And so it's important to, given how much attention is paid to it in the world, we need to also have some understanding of why so much attention is being paid to it in the world, and also why so much of the attention is negative attention. And there's lots of positive, but the negative makes the noise, and and also it's very motivated. And thank God that the only reason we can do this, what we're doing right now, is because there was a certain point on the 27th, no, on the 5th of ER, and we're doing Rosh Chodesh. I want to mention something about Rosh Chodesh, but well, maybe we should do that. You know what? Will you remind me to do it at the end? The Rosh Chodesh.
Rosh Chodesh.
If there's more people here by then, maybe it's appropriate. So the way history worked out was that, where is it? Here it is. That Megillat Atzmaut. That on the 5th, the British mandate left on the, it ended, and the people responsible wrote a scroll, Megillat Atzmaut, in which they review the history in the land of Israel, arose the Jewish people and developed its spiritual identity and practices and kingdom, and offered great lights and offered much to the world culture. And after we were kicked out of our land, we continued faithfulness for it wherever we were, and we never stopped praying and hoping to return to our land and to renew within it et cheruto hamedinit, our national freedom. And in every generation, we've kept this connection and desire, and in the last few generations, we started to return to their nation in numbers, pioneers, and who began to give birth to souls, and they gave Hechyu Sfatama Ivrit. They brought back the Hebrew language. They built villages and cities and established a community that's growing and going, and who is seeking peace and protecting itself. And Mevi Birkat HaKidma, and is bringing the blessing of progress to everyone in the land. And as it's creating for himself Atzmaut Mamlachtit, independent kingdom. We're now in the process of creating our own independent kingdom. Ah, good. Okay, now I can see you, Nachum. So we're reviewing the actual scroll of Atzmaut, and then it goes into the recent history that in 1897 the Zionist Congress came together, and the visionary announced the vision of the Jewish state, Theodor Herzl, and announced the right, the zchut, that we have the right, the merit, the right, the legal right to establish our nation in its land. And then this zchut was recognized with the Declaration of Balfour on the 2nd of November, 1917, which of course Torah Rav Kook ties into, because it's reasonable to say it may not have been, the Balfour Declaration may not have come about if Rav Kook didn't write that letter and put that out in London and everywhere. So it's appropriate that he's mentioned, some of his contribution is mentioned, so to speak, without, it's just the importance of that.
Can I ask who wrote this scroll and when?
Ben Gurion and those guys, in the days before, there was a bunch of them, probably Abba Eben, and I don't know who else was around, but
So if they call it, is it Mamlachut, you say?
Well, yeah, here it is, yeah. Yeah.
Could we say that, you know, when we bless the moon, we go David Melech Israel Chai v'Chayam, so that he's always alive. So it's his kingdom, maybe.
Well, sure, but right now we're also talking about creating an actual, like, real one.
Right.
And then they mentioned, okay, so they say we got the 1917, and it was agreed to by the Chever Leumim, which was the League of Nations, and then it got international recognition based on its historical connection of the Jewish people to the land of Israel, and the right of the Jewish nation to rebuild anew, Mechadash Beito Leumi. And then the Shoah, just remember a few years ago, that happened on the Am Yisrael in the last period, in which millions were sent to slaughter in Europe. Well, proves for new the requirement that we need to solve the problem of the Jewish people not having their birthland and independence by the renewal, Chidush Medinat HaYehudit be'Eretz Yisrael, by the renewal of the Jewish Medina in Eretz Yisrael, that will open wide its gates of the homeland, of the birthland, to every Jew, and give to the Jewish people a status of nation of equal rights among the family of nations. And then they go on a little bit about the war. And then 29th of November, 1947, the United Nations took a decision that obligated, mechayevet, the establishment of Medina Yehudit be'Eretz Yisrael, a Jewish nation in the land of Israel.
Can I just say that it wouldn't have come to this vote if I believe that if Irgun and Lehi had not done what they did, that forced the British to say, we've had enough, we're leaving. It was only at that point that it went to the United Nations, because originally it was planned that the British mandate would last for 50 years until 1970.
Wow.
And so
that makes sense.
Right. And so they were forced out by Jewish action.
Begin became part of the government, and Begin continued to be one of the major politicians.
Right. I mean, just as we commemorate the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, the uprising from the Jewish militants was very, very important to point out, I think.
True. So there they said 29th for November, they made the decision, and it required the dwellers of the land of Israel to do all the steps necessary in order to manifest this decision, the recognition of the United Nations in the right of the Jewish people to establish its Medina was established, and this is also the natural right of the Jewish nation to be a nation among all the, and who stands on its own independence in its own jurisdiction. And therefore, because of this, we, Chavrei Mo'etzet Ha'am, the council of the people of the nation, it might have been 20, I don't know how many people were there, but the representatives of the Yishuv HaIvri, the Hebrew settlement, and the Zionist movement, Noah Etzionit, in the day of the ending of the British mandate on the land of Israel, and based on our right, natural and historical right, and on the basis of this decision by the United Nations, we announce, Machrizim, Bezot al Hakamat Medina Yehudit. We announce with this the establishment of a Jewish Medina in the land of Israel. He and she is Medinat Israel. Doesn't say to be called, but that's it. And she is to be called, this is Medinat Israel. And this was on the Friday afternoon. Yeah, because
I just looked up.
was,
it said 25 people signed at the time, and 12 others signed later because they couldn't get. There was a blockade of Jerusalem, so they couldn't get to the meeting. They signed later, so it was 37 eventually.
Good now. So that's and then they put out the Medinat Israel. And then they expanded a little more here, that and so therefore we say that we will, based on all of this, we'll do whatever it takes, and we'll create a temporary government in the nation of Israel, in the Medina Yehudit, in the Jewish nation that will be called Israel. I say again, it's going to be called Israel, and the nation of Israel will be open to Aliyah and kibbutz, and it'll focus in on the development of the land for the goodness of all its dwellers. And it'll be based on the foundations of chirut, freedom, tzedek, righteousness, v'shalom, and peace. L'or chazonam shel nevi'ei Israel, in the light of the visions of the prophets of Israel. And it will have equal rights, social and national rights completely, to every citizen without regard to religion, race, or sex. It will guarantee freedom of religion, conscience, language, education, and culture. It'll guard the holy places of all the religions, and it'll be faithful to the principles of the scroll of the League of Nations, whatever the national things. And the land of Israel, the state of Israel, will be prepared to cooperate with all the institutions, the representatives of all the United Nations in manifesting this and bringing about the Achdut Akalkalit, to help us also create our financial presence in the world. So that will be trade and open the banks, and they make you think all the work Achmat Achdut Kalkalit, that will unify Israel into the world market, Shel Eretz Yisrael b'Shleimuta, and we call to the nations, United Nations, to.
I think that maybe that they were thinking about cooperating with the part that was not included, with the he mentions Eretz Israel, so the united economy. I think he was trying to say that it's going to bring in the Arab section in as well into united economy. That's, I think, what he might be indicating there.
Well, that would be almost the natural one, since they're most around. They would be the ones to do it with.
That's because he says Eretz Israel, doesn't he?
Yeah. Thank you. So we call to the United Nations to give a hand to the Jewish people in building its nation, and to receive the Medinat Israel into the family of nations. And we also call and also within the bloody attacks that have been upon us lately, we call to the children of the Amma Aravi, the Arab nation, Toshavei Medinat Israel, who are dwellers in the land of Israel, Lishmor al Shalom, to keep peace, Velitol Chalkam, take their place in building the Medina on the basis of full citizenship and equality, and on the basis of appropriate representation in the country's institutions, calendars, establishments. You'll be part of we'll together. And we also put our hand of peace out and good neighborliness to all the nations that are in our neighborhood. And we call to them to cooperate and help mutually with the Hebrew people, the independent Hebrew people. The word Ivri is used here, Hebrew. And it's interesting, the word Aravi, the word Ivri is the same letters. Arav, so it's one of those, yeah. So, but Medinat Israel and the state of Israel is ready to do its part, and in a combined effort to bring progress to the entire Middle East. And we call to all the people, all the Jewish people and all the diasporas to join together and around the matter of Aliyah. And to build the Ma'aracha Hagdolah, to participate in the building of this great Ma'aracha Hagdolah, which is Al Hakshamat She'ifat Hadorot. This is the manifestation, the materialization of finally the aspirations of all the generations, Legeulat Israel.
In the previous week, Golda Meir had traveled. I think Golda Meyerson, as she was known, she traveled over to Jordan, dressed as a man, and to try and get Abdullah to agree not to fight against the new state. It was an attempt.
Yes.
Peace.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, those guys the gang, whoever, all those guys together, what they did was extraordinary. So, yeah, so that's exactly. So here we go. But that's they're saying this is the manifestations of Geulat Israel.
Right.
We're not. It's not less than that. That's what this is the meaning. That's what is happening.
Right.
And mitoch bitachon, and with confidence and trust, B'tzur Israel, in the rock of Israel. The question when they were writing it is, how would God be put into it? And this is sort of what they agreed with, the Tzur Israel, not Adonai Elohim, but everybody knows who you mean. The rock of Israel, with confidence that the rock of Israel is with us. And Baruch Hashem, we have to say, boy, is Tzur Israel with us. We sign Otmim with our handwriting as testimony on this, as witnesses to this declaration in the temporary place of our government in the city of Tel Aviv, Erev Shabbat, the 5th of Iyar, Tafshin Chet, 14th of May, 1948. Now, that was a huge moment, and it's also, somebody has to mute. Robert, somebody has to mute. Yeah, it's okay. It is the happiest day collectively in Israel. It's just naturally. And
at the time, there's very little chance to celebrate. There's right about one night to celebrate before the fighting began, wasn't there? It was such a short period.
Yes. And it's not the fact that we're still fighting this Yom HaTzmaut and the way we are. It's been one long battle.
Yeah, we still haven't got to the point of really celebrating our Geulah.
And so, but in the context of this, they were thinking a few different names, and they said no, Medinat Israel, and that's when. But I'm sure we've seen this piece before. But I want to. The first time that the words Medinat Israel came into the world, of course, were because when Rav Kook wrote it down. And what I'd like to do now is review a piece of Rav Kook there's a few pieces together, but it's basically just a presentation of his thinking of what Medinat Israel is and what we need to do to become that, to fulfill our destiny fully. And so I said, so let's just enter the text. And the machine gave it to me. I was able to get it in Hebrew English. So let's see. Okay. So this is dedicated to Am Israel in Eretz Israel, creating Medinat Israel, and it's a brit, it's a covenant that we're doing with Tzur Israel, Elokei Israel. And there's really an amazing story going on here for the entire planet, and Rav Kook addresses it. First of all, the first time that the word Medinat Yisrael appeared in the world. This is entry from Notebook 1, Yafo, 1911 or so. Ein ha-medina ha'osher hayoter elyon shel adam. The nation is not the highest supreme happiness of a person, to be part of a nation. Ze nitan lehemar b'medina regila. This you can sort of say about a regular nation. שאינה עולה לערך יותר גדול מחברת אחריות גדולה. That its value does not rise to a value more than a large insurance company. The regular, ordinary nation state is basically a big insurance company. שנשארו המון אידיאות, in which many ideas and also ideals is implied with the L, multitudes of the ideals, shehem ateret hachaim shel enoshiyut, which are actually the crown of human life, merachafim me'ala ve'enam nogim bar, hovering about, they have nothing to do with these ideals. They just concerned about their survival, power, whatever. Well, he'll say what motivates them in a minute. But he says, "Ma she'en kein medina shehi beyesoda idealit." But that's not the situation if you have a nation that has at its foundation idealism. שחקוק בהווייתה התוכן האידיאלי היותר עליון, in whose being the highest idealism is engraved. We've had an idealism engraved into us by everything we've gone through in Har Sinai and everything, where it's all a huge idealism that has been embedded with us, within us. Shehu be'emet ha'osher hayoshter gadol shel hayachid. And a state like that in its very foundation is idealism, that's actually the greatest happiness for a person to be part of that. Medina zu hi be'emet hayoter elyona b'sulam ha'osher. A nation like this is certainly the highest level on the ladder of happiness. For an individual to be part of a nation, a group mutually committed to the highest ideals, is the best way for an individual to live with a group. And the nation-state group works more or less for certain things, but it's what the content is. But in a nation-state like this, the content, everybody's highest on the ladder of happiness. All right, all of this has been theory, so to speak. Now he brings it into us. The Medina zu, and this nation, a nation like this, he Medinatenu. That is our Medina, Medinat Israel, the nation state of Israel. And I want to just emphasize that because this is basically the first time these words were put together in history. And of course, it's become a very significant
the following words even more important.
Well, yes, of course. We're going to, yeah. So, all right. Let's move to the. What is Medinat Yisrael to be? And then he gives it a description. Yesod Kisei Hashem Be'olam. The foundation for God's throne, God's seat, God's presence in the world. Shekol Cheftzahu, that its entire desire of the nation, Sheyeh Hashem Echad Ushmo Echad, that there will be the one God and His name one, and that there will be oneness, unity in the planet. Shezehu be'emet ha'osher hayoter elyon, that this is truly the highest happiness. That's what Medinat Israel, the state of Israel, the foundation of God's throne, entire desire that we shall be one, name one, this is the highest happiness. And then he says something we know the truth of it. Emet osher nisgav zeh. It's true that a happiness on this level, tzarich hu lebiur haroch, it really requires a long clarification, biur, making be'er, to clarify, to illuminate, kedei laha'alot oro b'yemei hachoshech, in order to be able to bring out its light in the days of darkness. So for Medinat Israel to fulfill, to be this, Yesod Kisei Hashem, Shekol Cheftzau Yisheh Hashem Shmo Echad, it's going to take a whole process But לא מפני זה יחדל מלהיות העושר יותר גדול. That doesn't matter. Even so, it continues to be the greatest happiness. We have to do it. That's what we're here to do. And it's even if it's hard, it takes a biur aroch. But that's what it'll be easy once we can. I have some hints how to make it easier. Rav Kook is saying. So then the question I want to ask here is, well, what is it that we have to do to bring this about? What is it as Israel, the people of Israel, as in the form of the state of Israel, what we have to do? And based on who we are, sort of what the Torah is asking us to do ultimately. And here, Rav Kook has some important teachings. And this one is found in Notebook 7 during the war. You know what? I'm actually thinking, in order to go through all, maybe I should just read the English. The Hebrew is not that significant here for that, but just follow with me, and I'll just read the English and sometimes the Hebrew. But he says like this: when the revelation of the divided world, when more people see that the world is divided, and that overcomes the higher revelation of a unified world. When the vision of the divided world is stronger than the vision of the unified world, well, then materialism overcomes spirituality, and bodily desires then become the first priority, the front row of the life plan. It's a very literal translation. But they'll become the first priorities, just whatever you want physically and physically, emotionally, it enters all that, but whatever just your body wants, that becomes the first priority. Ve'afelat ha'olam rabahi, and the darkness of the world is great.
When did he write this?
He wrote this in 1916. And when the perspective of the unified world is stronger, is overcoming, then spiritual desires and refined aspirations become stronger, and the world grows increasingly bright.
It's amazing because he's writing this in the middle of the Great War, in the middle of the First World War. To have such vision at such a dark time is amazing.
And also saying that this is all happening so that Israel will come about, because the next line says it's Avira de Eretz Yisrael hu hamachkim. That's from a midrash somewhere. It's the air, the atmosphere of the land of Israel makes one wise. It gives illumination to the soul to understand the foundation of the unified world. That's what the land of Israel does. and it illuminates the soul that we can understand the foundation of a unified world. In the land of Israel, Yonkim mior hachachma ha-Israelit. We are suckling, drawing from the light of the Israelite wisdom. Notice here, he doesn't say the Jewish wisdom. Saying this is here, the Israelite is coming forth, the wisdom of Israel, mimahuta chaim, from the aruchaniim, from the essence of the spiritual life, hamiyuchadim leIsrael, that is uniquely Israel.
So he's using the word Israel as opposed to Judaism, in a way of suggesting that this is a transcendence from what we have known as Judaism.
That's right.
Well,
It's in a way
there's
that
also a lot of Kabbalistic references to Israel Saba, receiving the light.
you know, and also it's the transition from Yaakov to Israel is also implied at the heel and now and all of that. But he says we're here to discover what it is, this Chachma Israelit. It's a yeah, and then we're here to gain understanding מהשקפת העולם והחיים הישראלים. From the השקפת העולם, the world perspective, and the Israelite השקפת עולם and chaim, the Israel perspective and life of Israel. And what is that? He says, well, if you want to put it in one sentence, what the Israelites, what the foundation, what it's about, shehi beyesoda התגברות של העולם המאוחד על העולם המפורד. The basic essence of the Israelite hashkafa is fundamentally, and the way of life, is fundamentally the victory of the unified world over the divided world. That's what Israel has. That's what Avram and Sarah, and we've been cultivating, and that's really what it is about at core.
So what does hashkafat mean in that sentence?
What?
Hashkafat.
Hashkafa is like how you look at things.
Like perspective?
Perspective, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Here they use it like in Jerusalem. What's your hashkafa? Like, what's your way of thinking about life? So then, and he says that is actually the foundation for the nullification of idolatry with all its aspirations and branches and going forth. Implying, saying we're still battling the branches of idolatry in many ways, and it is the idolatry is that there is no higher unity, and it's just each one out for themselves. So then he continues talking about Israel, the nature of Israel. We aspire to the revival of the nation and the revival of the land in order to revive the standing of our soul, to establish a living Israel, to revive faith and love and the strength of the Torah and commandments and all their fulfillment. We long to build the land and be built by it, to absorb its spirit, its air, and to unite, lehit ached, with all the life connected to it. We want to unite it all. So that is, he says, built in the nature of Israel. That's in our soul. So now the question is, well, what's preventing us from doing that? Or what do we have to do in order to do that? And he gives very specific information here. And this is found in Orot HaTchiyah 18. This already came out. He wrote this maybe in Yafo. It came out in 1920 anyways, and it's in the edition of Orot that's there, where he describes the situations like this. First of all, I want to go to this line a little further. Do I have it here? Yeah. I don't have it. Okay, forget it. It's a line which basically says, it's really, really horrible if we get caught in divided, separated parties. And he says we actually are doing that because right now there are three forces that are struggling within our camp. And these three forces are the force of the holy, the force of the national, and the force of the universal, of all humanity, Kodesh, Uma, Enoshiyut, which are the three primary demands. We did this fairly recently in the context, so I want to, but it's important, it's important to return to it in many ways because it really is speaking to what the challenge of Israel is and what we need to do in order to really be a seat, a presence for the one God, because we have to unify.
We need to be a synthesis of all three, don't we?
We have to unify, and we have to be one in order. That's otherwise, yeah. So all of that. So he says,
and did you want to mention Rosh Chodesh?
What?
Did you want to mention Rosh Chodesh?
Yes, I do. But remind me when we finish this piece, I want to just a quick thing about ER. But let's keep going with this. And he says that these three branches, they're part of life. The holy, the national, this universal, three primary focuses in which every life, ours and everybody's in some way, is composed of. And here he defines them more closely. In Israel, the Orthodox, which are carrying the banner of the holy, with strength, zeal, bitterness. And then the second one is the new nationalist, the Zionist, which is fighting for everything that the national inclination is aspiring to and they're wishing to restore the national life. And then the third is the liberal, that was carrying sort of the perspective of the Enlightenment, the universal is maybe the way to say it in this term. And these people, the liberal universalists, they don't enclose themselves exclusively within the national unit, and they demand the general human content of the Enlightenment, meaning that idea that we can all be one together on planet Earth. We are all to be one, which was an idea that came forth historically, and there's lots of Jews that are drawn to it. And yeah, then the Torah is expressing it, but they came to it from secular sources because they weren't being offered that Torah. That wasn't the way the Torah hashkafa they grew up in, or that existed. Rav Kook is very much one of his great contributions. So he says this is the three groups we have, and they're not, they're separate. They're separating into different groups, different camps, then setting up their own separate things. As he says, wretched we will be if these three forces, which need to be united among us so that each can assist and perfect the other, they can help each other so that each can restrain the extremism that its fellow could bring in a corrupted form when its path is not sort of fenced in, that somebody has also got to comment on it. You can take feedback. We can critique each other, improve each other, so we can prevent the extremism. And we're going to be in very bad situation. Wretched we will be if these three forces, which we need to unite, if we leave them separate in their dispersion, in their rebellion against each other. Rebellion might be a strong word. Vidatam is rebellion, but it's sort of in their attitude towards each other and into their division into separate camps. We're going to get our own education, our own funding, our own da-da-da-da-da. we're going to be wretched if we leave things in that way. Ein kates lera'ot hagashmiot v'ruchaniyot. There's no end to the physical and spiritual evils of the nation's separation into parts. No end to the physical and spiritual evils. And the foundation of this separation is in the negative aspect that each one sees in the other, while their own negative aspects they don't see, which is why the other group can maybe point out things to them for them to consider. It's also a matter of communication, but with love and respect. So the problem is every possessor, every person of a particular group is filled only with fierce energy regarding the negation of the other one, which he doesn't want to recognize. And in a situation like this, it's horrible. The spirit is emptied, truth collapses, becomes absent, and we're turned into divided flocks, different groups. It's understood in a healthy state there's a need for all of these forces together. And we must always aspire to reach this healthy state where these three forces together will rule over us, will direct us in all their fullness and goodness in a harmonic, repaired way, a rectified, harmonic way, metukan, that doesn't have deficiency nor excess. The holy, the national, the universal will cling together in noble and practical love. And together, all these individuals and factions, they will convene in proper friendship, each recognizing with a good eye the positive role of the other. And then this recognition will just bring more and more wholeness, so that then we'll also be able to hear what we need to hear from each other. And he goes into that, and he gives it it's like in a mitzvah in the temple of taking a handful of flour. You shouldn't be lacking, you shouldn't have too much. How do you keep exactly the right thing? And then this is the part that now we're going to complete with. He says, therefore, when we look with good seichel tov, with good thinking, betesisot, about all of these fermentations and struggles that is going on within Israel, that we're suffering so much from that in our generation, we know there's only one way before us, and that is that everyone, every individual or group has to take this teaching to heart, the Musar Hazeh, to heart, and along that each group has its place, and together with defending their own, everyone is called to defend that koach that they're connected with, either because of who they are, just that's their education. They grew up as this. Even so you are that because you grew up that way. So along with being who you are, because that's how you are, you will know how to appreciate, lihishtamesh, to make use, positive use of the kochot that find other people doing them. They're taking care of the national things. They're taking care of the universal things. They're things. So we'll know how to appreciate them and benefit from it. We should know how to use the forces that find their refuge in other people, other factions, in order to complete ourselves in our own factions. And באופן זה נוכל לקוות להגיע למצב של חיים הראויים לגוי אחד בארץ. And it's only in this way that we can hope to reach a state of life that is worthy to be Goy Echad Ba'aretz, which we're found in many times. And so therefore, I'm skipping the first part here. Therefore, Kol, and this I'm going to read in the Hebrew and the English. It's very beautiful, and this is Rav Kook's lesson to everyone in Israel, that this is what our effort has to be. Kol amal hachaim, all the work of life, all the effort of life, especially b'yichud amal haruchani shel kol hamachshava, especially the spiritual work of thinking, how we have to think of things, especially our effort in thought. But not only, but we really have to have in our consciousness, mukhrach liot poneh, has to be directed רק כדי לגלות את אור השלום הכללי העליון, towards revealing the light of the universal elevated shalom, the supreme general peace. And how do we have Or HaShalom HaKlali HaElyon, universal peace? Hayotze lo mitoch tchia shel eze koach. It emerges not from the rejection, the pushing away of any force, shel eze rayon, or any idea, shel eze zerem, of any stream, shel eze netiya, any inclination. Ela mitoch hachnasato shel kol echad mi'ele, only through the bringing in of each one of these, each force, idea, current, inclination, bringing all of these letoch hayam hagadol shel or Ein Sof, into the great ocean, the great sea of infinite light. Shesham, there, hakol mitached, everything is united. Hakol mitaleh, everything is elevated. Hakol mitromem, everything rises higher. Vehakol mitkadesh, and everything is sanctified. And once we're able to do that, then we'll be able to truly be Medinat Israel, Yesod Kisei Hashem Ba'olam, the foundation of God's presence in the world. Shekol Chefzahu Sheyeh Hashem Echad Ushmo Echad. So just for unification, that this is the greatest happiness for all humankind. And we're here to bring this about. And it's a biur aroch, but we're doing it. I mean, there's many elements we're doing. I don't want to suggest in any way that this isn't going on. There's extraordinary fusion in Israel. But Rav Kook is saying, let's do it consciously. Let's really understand, and even more, and understand, develop the art of how the different ones work together, so we can teach that to the world. And yeah, so may we bring this about immediately, if not sooner. And may our learning and yearning and envisioning bring immediate victory to Tzva Haganah Israel in this brutal, multi-front war, and healing to all the wounded, comfort to all the Avelim, the mourners, and elevation to the holy souls. And And the month of Iyar, the month that we're coming into, is very much the month of the birth of Israel. It's the 5th of Iyar is Israel independence, the 28th of Iyar, Jerusalem Day. So I want to, Rav Kook wrote for every month a poem based on the acronym of the month, based on the letters. And what I'd like to do is read with you the one for Iyar, and then go to the magic machine, which I asked it to translate it in a poetic way. So first, just hear it. I'm not even going to translate it, okay? But notice the month of Iyar, the first line is Aleph, second line Yud, third line Yud, fourth line Resh. The first letter, it's called an acronym, right? The first letter is from that, and it sounds like this. Asefa, Asfa, Asefa Gila, בימי ספירת העומר חדלה. יכאוב מאוד מקרה תלמידי רבי עקיבא, רדתם שעולה. יעבור העיצבון בחטא יוד, בו הילולה דרבי שמעון, ראשון לחכמי הרזים, עמוד האש והענן. And now, what that means, all right. אספה גילה בימי ספירת העומר חדלה. Joy that has been, we've been gathering joy, but in the day of Sfirot, of the days of counting, it's ceasing. We're ceasing from joy. All the Sfirat HaOmer Minhagim, right? יכאב מאוד מקרי תלמידי רבי עקיבא רדתם שעולה. It's very, very painful. It hurts very much. The event of what happened to the students of Rabbi Akiva, in that they were sent down into the graves, into the Sheol. Who went to the depths of the graves, they were sent down. How many students of Rabbi Akiva?
24,000.
They were killed, correct?
No, there was a plague, wasn't there?
But they didn't kill each other.
No.
Good. Because there's another point where
it was because they were argumentative. I think they didn't treat each other in a holy enough way.
That's what's associated with that. But then the sorrow, Ya'avora Itzavon Bechet Yud, the sorrow will pass or fade on the 18th. That is Bo Hilula de Rabbi B'Shimon. This is the Hilula of Rabbi Shimon, the 30th, like the Omers. So Rabbi Shimon's, it's a big deal, eh? That they got in, like it had such a big effect. Who is Rabbi Shimon? Rishon lechachmei harazim, the head of the sages of the mysteries, of the secrets, the chief of the hidden. Amud ha'esh v'hanan, the pillar of fire and cloud. And now a little note on the imagery. The 18th of Iyar, 33rd day, we got that. Sheol the biblical terms for the place of the dead, the tragedy of the 24,000 who died. And here, the pillar of fire and cloud, a reference to the divine guidance during the Exodus, the fire and cloud. But here it said that it's applying to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who is a guide teaching us the secrets of the Zohar, is like the guidance that we had then. So that's the pillar of fire and cloud. So that's in the early 1900s, I think Rav Kook wrote those. And now, in the modern calendar, the 5th of Iyar, Yom Ha'atzmaut, and the 28th of Iyar add a whole other level to Iyar and to the morning of Iyar, because here we are where it's anyway, the rebuilding because it's about the destruction of everything. So here we're rebuilding. So it's mamish a tremendous.
It's also worth pointing out that this is a month of Pesach Sheni, which is like the second chance for the re-establishment of the state. Comes in the time of the Pesach Sheni, the second chance that we have.
That's interesting. Yeah. So that. So Chodesh Tov, I'm not going to count the Omer here tonight because there's going to be a minyan at the Shur tonight here at Beit Rav, so we'll count Omer there.
Yeah.
And but in every case, we can stop the share and I can